Hi everyone, I'm Pranita and welcome to my kitchen. Today we are learning a South Indian traditional dish called Chakinalu. There are two versions of this dish. One is spicy that uses chili powder and sesame seeds and tons of garlic. And there is also one that is not so spicy which uses rice and sesame seeds as well. So today we are going to be learning the whiter version. So let's get started. So these are the ingredients we are going to need for the whiter version of this dish. First, we are going to be using rice. To talk a little bit more about the rice, this rice, the particular one that I'm using, is not Sona Masuri rice, but you can definitely use Sona Masuri rice. But this rice is a brand that I brought in here in America. It's sold in Walmart and Costco as if now, and this is called a long grain enriched rice, and it's a product of Mexico. It's a little bit larger than Sona Masuri rice. It doesn't have any smell. If you want to buy it in small quantity, you can get it from Walmart or any other in the international aisle section. In from Costco, I got it huge bag and I use it in making idlis and all these kind of battered dishes where I need the rice instead of using Sona Masuri. For this dish, we are going to be using 2 cups of rice and half cup of sesame seeds, half a teaspoon of salt, and half a teaspoon of carom seeds. With the rice, what I have done is I've been soaking the rice for last 8 hours, and just an hour back I drained the rice and I put it on a paper towel to let it dry. And once the rice dries, and then we are gonna go ahead and blend that. For as far as the sesame seeds go, after the rice is blended, we are gonna rinse these out and add everything to the rice and start making it into a dough. So first I want to show you guys how I drained the rice and how I dried it out. So here is the rice that I have been letting it dry for 1 hour almost by now, and right now the rice is not bone dry like normal rice. It still has a little bit of cold, like wet texture to it, but it's not like there is a lot of water on the surface. So it's perfectly ready to be blended. It's ready, and you want to make sure that you spread it out on a cotton towel like this, which absorbs water very quickly. Adding it to the blender, just make sure you cover the blender blade. This is where the blade is, so it's almost, I've just covered the blade, and that way the blade has enough room to blend it nicely. So I'm not going to add any water to this. I'm just gonna work with the moisture that the rice contains in itself. So I've separated the dough. I took some out and I put it in another dish. So here I have a little bit, about like a cup of it. You don't want like lumpy sesame seeds, and you want the salt and the carom seeds distributed evenly, so just make sure and mix it like this. When it comes to salt, I always advise to check it once you're done kneading and right before you start doing the chakinalu. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start kneading it. I have some cold water. This is just room temperature tap water that I'm using, and I've added about like a tablespoon. I'm just gonna start adding it with my hand and start bringing the dough together. Don't worry, that water is gonna get all white by the end of this kneading process. You can use a spoon or a cup to help you, but I personally would love to do it with my hand more. And once you feel like, okay, maybe it's there, it seems like it's doing it, you take a little bit. And what I do is take a little bit that fits in between 4 of your fingers. This is the one, the thumb is the one that's going to be molding it into a rope. So you take a little bit and start turning it into a rope. Oh, look at that. It makes it. And we made it. I think it's good. Maybe a touch more. Down a cloth like this to make the chakinalu. and I've tried out some. They look like they're coming out pretty good. This is a cotton towel. It helps in absorbing a lot of moisture out of these chakinalu, and you want to let them sit a little while before you start frying them. So I have a piece of dough that is about 3 inches and or 2 inches if I make it into a pile like this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just slowly start molding it into a rope, and you don't want to start too thick or too thin. So if you think you're not happy with it, just take it back and just start it out again. So if your dough is like breaking and it's not coming out well, you can add a little bit more water to it and give a good knit. That's the beauty of this dough. If you don't like it, you can take it back. So let's go. So what we do is we turn it into a rope, and then with even thickness, try to get as even as possible. So you make it into a small circle. Now don't try to move it around once you're done making it. You have to let it sit. So keep going, and until the end. You end it nice and thin. Then you start fixing all these holes because you don't want it to break while you're taking it out, and it's done. The chakinalu has been sitting here for about 10 to 15 minutes, and I have been preheating some oil for deep frying. It's at 300 degrees right now. I used a thermometer to check the heat on the oil. To take the chakinalu out, you need a plate, a lid that has smooth edges and that's not like too curvy. So you want to use something like this, and what you want to do is imagine if you're applying the plate force forward, you want to pull the cloth a little bit backwards to give you a little bit of pressure to ease the chaknam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a small pinch of the cloth, and I'm going to just work my way slowly, and then you slowly slide it onto the plate like this. You don't have to pile 2 and 3 of them at a time. As I said, you want to work in the order that you made it. So the order that I made it was, these were the first ones that I made them. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys again. Pinch the cloth, pull it towards you, and now force against like this. So there you go. Oil seems nice and hot, so I'm gonna go ahead and start frying these. I'm gonna start with one and test and see how it's gonna come out. So here I have the oil preheating for me, and for deep frying these chakinalu, and I have a thermometer, and the temperature of the oil is about 350 degrees. And when you want to add the chakinalu to the dish, what you want to do is take it to the surface of the dish and just slowly slide it into it. That way they don't break, and it doesn't usually go down and stick. So it should just go down, and soon it should rise onto the top. And I'm going to slide this one as well. Now add just about 3/4 of the oil to the dish, and as you can see, the bubbles are going to indicate how much the chakinalu are cooking. Don't move the chakinalu right away after you have added them to the oil. I'm frying these on medium-low heat, but depending on what kind of stove you're using, you want to keep adjusting it. And if you invest in a candy thermometer like this, this keeps track of the temperature of the oil really well for you. And as you can see, half of the bubbles have come down. So these seem to be getting ready to take them out. You want to cook these chakinalu between 300 to 340 degrees. You don't want it to cook quickly, and after it comes out, let them sit for a couple of minutes and test it out if they're coming out crispy or not. As you can see, they're still nice and white. They should pretty much look like that, and I'm happy how the bubbles are like almost gone, and you can just see a couple of here and there. So this is where the chakinalu go from nicely fried to burned. So just take them out. So I've done frying. Oh, they're still hot. I've done frying a couple of these, and they look darker than they look in person. I think my lighting is making them look darker, but it's still nice and white. I'm still frying a couple of batches more. This is how they're supposed to look. They should be nice and crispy. Once you break into them, even though when they're warm, you hear that crunch, they should be nice and crispy. So once it's like that, and the way you take it out, the pan that you use to remove the chaknalu from the cloth has a big role because it ensures in chaknalu from breaking. So here are the chaknalu ready to be served. Since I was talking about the different variations in this chaknalu recipe, I also want to mention that if you are planning on doing the both types of chaknalu, just make sure you do these first, because when you do the spicy, the chili powder ones, the oil tends to change and pick up a little bit of red color. So if you do the white ones after you finish doing the red ones, you might not have a good idea if they are frying really well or not, and these might pick up a little bit of color as well. So hope that helps. Thanks for watching. You can find this recipe and many more at booklesscooking.com. Thank you.